All too often in contemporary American society, most marriages often hit a stage where the partners are not seeing eye to eye. One research study concludes that 40 to 50% of all first marriages will end in divorce or permanent separation. Some of the factors include marrying at a young age, income, education, insecurity, and infidelity. However, all of these factors have a nucleus of a lack of communication between the husband and wife. In this paper, I plan to show how a lack of communication can play a role in divorce. I will focus on how negative communication can lead to financial stress in a relationship, how a lack of communication can lead to bad sex in a relationship, and how training on interpersonal communication can help salvage a marriage. Financial stress and marital quality, the moderating influence of couple communication, states that the quality of the marriage and financial stress is dependent upon the communication and the financial stability of the household between the spouses. In this study, married couples would rate the quality of their marriage when it comes to communication about financial stability in the household. Although the research from this article shows that the husbands react more in a negative way when talking about financial stress in women, the article also stated that conversations about financial stress in the relationship can cause the quality of the marriage to decrease because of how taboo and difficult it is for an individual and couples to analyze their own shortcomings with financing the marriage. When the women were being studied about how communication about finances affect her relationship with their husbands, most women didn't have a correlation between talking about finances and the quality of the relationship. I often wonder if this is because the women that were surveyed didn't see themselves as equal in the financial power versus the responsibility as the husband saw themselves. Sometimes the lack of communication in the relationship about finances can lead a woman to the expectation that her husband has it together when actually he needs help. Lack of communication in a relationship sometimes leads to divorce, according to studies. My second article states that sexual communication can determine the strength of a relationship or a marriage as well. Sex isn't everything, but it's pretty significant. It's a pretty significant part of your marriage, states Sylvia Smith, who is a relationship expert and writer for Marriage.com. She states that communication plays a major role in how happy a person is in life and how satisfying your sex life can be. To support her claims, an article, Verbal Communication About Sex and Marriage, conducted a research study where the overall satisfaction of a relationship has a direct variation with the use of the sexual communication between partners. The greater the use of sexual language, the closer the relationship between partners. What stood out to me in this article was the rank of different terms that were used between partners to express their feelings between each other. The study used a scale from 0 to 3, 0 meaning that the words were never said, 3 meaning the words are always being said. Phrases such as have sex and make love were ranked numbers 1 and 2, which is expected in a marriage because a partner should be able to be honest with each other and say, hey honey, let's have sex. But with the lack of communication, how often does a married couple actually say those words? What I learned from my third source, Training in Interpersonal Communication Skills in Deteriorating Marriages, is that most married couples should be trained on how to communicate before entertaining the ideal of divorce. Most married couples who are on the brink of divorce or permanent separation have no idea on the different ways of communicating with their spouse. The article shows that couples who are trained on interpersonal communication with their spouse have a higher average of communicating with their spouse after the training when compared to communicating before the training. What stood out to me about this article was how the training was based from a book entitled The Art of Helping, which trained couples on how to use pre-helping skills such as attending, observing, and listening skills. I think these nonverbal communication skills have been taken for granted when it comes to saving and keeping a marriage. I think if couples not only knew how to verbally express themselves, but also use nonverbal ways of communication skills, such as attentiveness, then maybe a lot of marriages could be saved. A lot of couples will have to be taught the skills, since some couples may not have had the examples of what a loving relationship looks like through communication. In summary, one can clearly see that communication is the nucleus of all marriages. As stated above, the conversation about money or the lack thereof can change the quality of your relationship depending on how much stability is within the confines of your marriage. One can also see that sexual satisfaction has a dependent relationship with sexual communication between partners. The more words and phrases are used between two partners, the greater the quality of the relationship is felt from the partner individually. Lastly, when couples are in a deteriorating relationship, the training of interpersonal skills have saved a relationship from divorce. In short, I know that not all marriages are meant to last forever, and that's because maybe it shouldn't have ever started. But for most marriages, a simple training on how to use communication skills can save a partner from thinking about divorce.